Hello everybody, we're getting ready to do 5.1 of geometry math, which is triangles and congruence. It's only one of 70 lessons in this course. Contact me if you want the whole course, PowerPoints or video, and all of the note-taking, homework sheets, quizzes, and tests. And I also offer online tutoring, and I can also be the grader for your child's testing and so forth, so contact me about that. 5.1, congruence in triangles. 44 points here of classwork, and then 24 points of note-taking. If there's not enough room on the classwork sheet, staple your classwork to this sheet, and then take a picture of it with your camera, with your phone, and then email it to me and I'll grade it for you. Bell work for classroom teachers. Let your students warm up on this. For homeschoolers, warm up on this. Determine whether it's possible to draw a triangle with a given side. Same thing down here. Bell work here. We got two bell works here, class. Which segment in the figure is the hypotenuse? If measure of angle FGH is 100 degrees and GJ bisects FGH, what is the measure of angle FGJ? I would sketch that. Oh, I'm not going to tell you. So you got two bell works here. Take your choice. I provide a bell work answer for this one. This one's D. And then this one is G here. Okay, we got page 1 here in classwork, 2 points. ABC here, slides over to fit over DEF. When the vertices are matched this way, angle A, and angle D are corresponding angles, and line AC and line DF or corresponding sides, yes? So line AC and line DF are corresponding. Corresponding angles and corresponding sides are examples of corresponding parts. Figures are congruent if all pairs of corresponding angles are congruent and all pairs of corresponding sides are congruent. Page 2 for your notebook here. Congruent. These same size and shape determines if it's congruent. Not congruent would be different sizes, different shapes, would be not congruent. Here's your vocabulary here, students. Define these in your own words. Corresponding parts and congruent. Page 4 of your notebook. Students, this goes in your notebook. List corresponding parts. Given it a triangle JKL is congruent to triangle RST, JKL, RST. List all corresponding congruent parts for this, okay? Sketch this in your notebook. Corresponding angles. Triangle JKL, triangle RST, so angle J is congruent to angle R. These here, these two angles there. So you could symbol it like that. And then angle K is congruent to angle S. They're both right angles, yes. So those two are congruent. And then angle L is congruent to angle T. Angle L. Then angle T are congruent. Page 5 of your notebook. Corresponding sides. Side JK. JK is congruent to side RS, so we have JK and our S are congruent here. And then KL is congruent to ST, KL and ST, line or side KL and ST. And then JL is congruent to RT. So that'd be a way that you could sketch it, is by using these hash marks here. Okay, guided practice. Name corresponding parts, congruent triangles. Triangle STU is congruent to YXZ. List all corresponding congruent parts. And then independent practice. Triangle ABC is congruent to DEF. Find the length of DF. Find the length of DF. And the measure of angle B. Angle B. Okay, teachers, give your students about 3-4 minutes to do that. Then corresponding angles are thus: angle S, angle Y. Angle T is congruent to angle X. Corresponding sides: ST is congruent to YX. ST is congruent to YX. Line SU is congruent to YZ. YZ. And then line UT, UT here, which is the hypotenuse, is congruent to ZX, which would be right here. This is the hypotenuse. Write a congruent statement. The two triangles are congruent here. Identify all corresponding parts. So how do we do that? These two triangles are congruent. How do we write a congruent statement? Well, first of all, we identify all corresponding congruent parts, corresponding angles. Angle A is congruent to angle F. Angle B is congruent to angle D. Angle C is congruent to angle E. Congruent side or corresponding sides. AB is congruent to FD. BC is congruent to DE. BC is congruent to DE. And then line AC is congruent to FE here. Write a congruent statement. So this would be the writing of it. List the letters in the triangle's name so the corresponding angles match. One possible congruent statement is triangle ABC is congruent to FTE. So that would be one way to do it quickly. That would imply all of that. Which congruent statement is correct? Why? This is the guided practice. And then students, this is on you. Determine which of the following is correct. Congruent statement for the triangles in exercises 14 through 19, but there is only one correct answer. For this case here, between these two triangles, which one of these congruent statement would be correct for these two triangles? 8A. This statement matches up to corresponding, so B would be the statement here that is a correct congruent statement for these two triangles. So number B, which one down here? Page 9 of your classwork, students. Example 3, use properties of congruent triangles. In the diagram, triangle PQR is congruent to triangle XYZ. Find the length of XZ. So we need to find the length of this here. If both these triangles are congruent, we're trying to find PR here. We know PR is 10. Because XZ is congruent to PR, you know that XZ equals PR equals 10. So you can come up with 10 here for PR. we know it's 10, so XZ would be 10, XZ. Find the measure of angle Q of this angle here. We know Y is 95, right? Y is 95. Angle Q equals angle Y. Angle Q, angle Y. Okay, so our next guided practice here. Given triangle XYZ is congruent to EFD, determine the congruent side or angle that corresponds to the side or angle. So line or side FD. And then down here, students, your independent practice. XYZ EFD. So for angle D, determine the congruent side or angle that corresponds to the side or angle. YZ would be the answer here for this situation for side FD. The thing to do is to draw a triangle here, draw a triangle here, and label it XYZ EFD. And then same thing down here, students, for your independent practice. Sketch these two triangles. Okay, page 11. Notebook. This goes in your notebook, students. Use the two triangles at the right. So we have triangle. We have triangle EDF and then EGF. Identify all corresponding congruent parts. Corresponding angles would be angle D is congruent to angle G. Angle D is congruent to angle G right here. And then angle DEF is congruent to angle GEF. Here's DEF, and then GEF is the same thing. GEF is angle DEF. On this side of this dividing line here, these two angles here are congruent. They both have two little hash tags there, hash marks for that. And then corresponding angles here, angle DFE, DFE, so we're down here now. These two angles here are congruent, corresponding angles, and they're congruent. Corresponding sides now, DE is congruent to GE's. You have these corresponding hashtags here, there, and there. And then DF here, and then GF here. So these are two corresponding sides here. You have your corresponding hashtags there. And then again, EF is congruent to EF, so this side here is congruent to itself. Yes, of course. Okay. There is your three hashtags there. Okay, determine whether the triangles are congruent. If they are congruent, write a congruent statement. All three sets of corresponding angles are congruent, and all three have sets of corresponding sides are congruent, so the two triangles are congruent. A congruent statement will be right here. Triangle DEF is congruent to triangle GEF. This is kind of the premises here for determining or for supporting this congruent statement here would be these conditions here to support this statement. Guided practice, writing congruent statements. The triangles are congruent. Identify all pairs of corresponding congruent parts and write a congruent statement. Determine whether the triangles are congruent. If so, write a congruent statement. Students, this is on you. This is your independent practice. Teachers, give your students 3-4 minutes to do this. corresponding angles now over here. Angle A, angle E, angle C, angle F, angle B, angle D, and then corresponding sides, AC, EF, AB, ED, and then CB, FD. So this would be the supporting evidence to write your congruent statement, which would be, since all corresponding parts are congruent, here's your congruent statement here for these two triangles. Your notebook, page 13. Determine whether triangles are congruent. So we're going to determine if these two triangles here are congruent. If so, write a congruent statement. Start by labeling any information you can conclude from the figure. The following angles now. So angle HJG is congruent to KGL. Those two angles are congruent, vertical angles. Angle H is congruent to angle K, so angle H and angle K. Angle G is congruent to angle L. Alternate interiors, alternate interiors. Okay. The congruent sides are marked in the diagram here. So these are your congruent sides with the hash marks. HJ, KJ, HG, KL. And JG is side AG is congruent to JL. JG, which is JG and JL. Here's your hashtags here to show congruency there. Okay, guided practice. Determine whether triangles are congruent. XY is parallel to ZW. Teachers give your students about 5 minutes for this to complete. Yes, the congruent sides are marked in the diagram, so we have hashtags here. And for this, these two sides are congruent. Angle XVY is congruent to ZVW. Angle X congruent to angle Z. And here's your supporting evidence here for that. Your supporting geometric evidence for that. Since all corresponding parts are congruent, triangle XYV is congruent to ZWV. So by this supporting evidence here, you're basically writing a proof for this congruent statement right here. Okay, all the lessons in this geometry course can be obtained by emailing me here. Let's go into the homework real quick. This is our homework. 5.1, Congruence Triangles. Page 1 of your homework. Page 2 of your homework. Page 3 of your homework. Page 4 of your homework. Page 5 of your homework. Page 6 of your homework. And page 7 of your homework. And if you want this homework as a hard copy, email me, and thank you very much.